The Midnight Tollbooth. The barrier arm descended without warning, cutting through Nevada night like a guillotine blade. One moment I was alone on Highway 93, just me and the endless blacktop. The next, this impossible structure materialized before me. A single toll booth glowing with sickly yellow light in the absolute middle of nowhere. My rig shuddered to a stop, air brakes hissing in protest. There were no approach signs, no warning lights, just this pristine 1950s style booth that looked like it had been ripped from the Illinois tollway and dropped in the desert. The figure inside moved with mechanical precision, a pale hand extending to the window before I could even process what was happening. "Ticket, please," the attendant said, his voice flat as worn asphalt. I fumbled for my wallet, but he shook his head, those depthless eyes fixing on mine. "Not currency. The toll is memory. Your first memory of true fear." My blood turned to ice. How could he know? How could he possibly know about the basement incident when I was 6? The one I'd never spoken of, not even to my wife? I opened my mouth to protest, but the words died in my throat as I saw what he held. Not a ticket machine, but a small silver device that hummed with unnatural energy. "The memory will be preserved," he stated, as if discussing the weather. "Payment is due upon exit." The barrier arm lifted. I had no choice but to drive forward, into the darkness beyond the booth. But as I passed through, my cab filled with the sound of a child screaming. My own screaming, from 40 years ago, crystal clear as if I were back in that damp basement. The sound faded as I left the toll booth behind, but something else faded with it. The visceral terror of that memory. I could still remember the facts, but the emotion, the gut-wrenching fear, was gone, siphoned away. And in its place, a new fear began to grow. The fear of what other payments this road might demand. My name is Samuel Corrigan. I've been hauling freight for 28 years, and in all that time, I've never broken a delivery deadline or lost a load. I'm known for my reliability, my steel trap memory for routes, and my ability to handle any crisis on the road. Or at least that was before I took the detour that doesn't exist on any map. Before I encountered the Midnight Tollbooth. What I'm about to tell you isn't just another ghost story. It's a warning about a stretch of highway that doesn't play by the rules of our world. A place that feeds on human experience and leaves you an empty shell if you're not careful. I'm recording this from a motel room in Tonopah, Nevada, though I doubt I'll be here by morning. They're getting closer. The attendants, the collectors, whatever you want to call them, they know I'm talking to you. I need you to understand the gravity of what I'm sharing. This isn't for entertainment. This is a distress signal broadcast to anyone who might find themselves on that same dark road. If this story saves even one of you from making the same mistakes I did, then perhaps some good can come from this nightmare. But I need your help to spread this warning. Please hit that subscribe button and like this video. It tells the algorithm that this message matters, that it needs to reach people before it's too late for them. And in the comments, I need you to tell me where you're listening from, your city, your country. It helps me remember there's still a world out there beyond this nightmare, a world worth protecting from what's waiting on those dark stretches of asphalt. Now, let me tell you what happened after I passed through that first toll booth and why I can never go home again. The desert beyond the first toll booth was different. The air felt thinner, the stars sharper somehow, as if I had driven not just through space, but through some fragile barrier between realities. My hands tremble on the wheel, the ghosts of my childhood terrors still echoing in my bones, even though the emotion itself was gone. I kept checking my mirrors, expecting to see the toll booth fading behind me, but there was only darkness, absolute consuming darkness. My headlights seemed weaker now, barely piercing the gloom ahead. I drove for what felt like hours, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, every nerve ending screaming that I was no longer on Highway 93, no longer Nevada, perhaps no longer anywhere that appeared on any map. The dashboard clock had frozen at 2:17 a.m., the exact moment I'd encountered the toll booth. My CB radio produced only a low, mournful static, and my GPS showed my position as coordinates that didn't correspond to any known location. I was truly lost, navigating by instinct alone down a road that seemed to have no end. Then I saw the second toll booth. identical to the first, down to the sickly yellow glow in the pale figure inside. My heart hammered against my ribs. There was no exit, no detour, no way around it. The barrier arm was down, and I had no choice but to stop. The attendant, what was the same one, extended his hand. "Ticket, please," he said in that same flat tone. I had no ticket to give him. He seemed to expect this. "The toll is memory," he continued. "Your first kiss, the anticipation, the nervousness, the sweetness." "Go to hell." I snarled, my fear turned into anger. The attendant didn't react. He simply waited, his hand still extended. The barrier arm remained down. I looked behind me. The road had vanished into impenetrable fog. I was trapped. Memories began flooding back. Sarah Jenkins behind the bleachers in 10th grade. The smell of her cherry lip gloss. The way my heart had pounded. I could feel it all, vivid and immediate. Then the attendant produced that same silver device, which hummed to life. The memories began to drain away. Not the facts, but the feelings, the essence of what made that moment significant. When it was over, I remembered kissing Sarah Jenkins, but the emotional weight was gone. It was just a fact now, empty and hollow. The barrier arm lifted. I drove through, feeling lighter, emptier. The process repeated itself 3 more times over what might have been hours or days. The frozen clock made it impossible to tell. Each toll booth demanded a different memory. The pride to buy my first truck, the grief of my father's funeral, the joy of my wedding day. Each time, the attendant took not the memory itself, but the emotional resonance that made it meaningful. I was becoming a catalog of events without context, a man stripped of what made him human. After the 5th toll booth, something changed. The 6th structure wasn't a toll booth at all, but a massive, dark archway spanning the road. Beneath it stood not an attendant, but a figure in a long coat, his face hidden in shadow. He held no silver device. Instead, he spoke words that chilled me my core. "Samuel Corrigan, your account is nearly completed. For your final toll, we require not a memory, but a promise. The promise of all memories yet to be made." The archway hummed low, throbbing energy that vibrated through my rig and into my bones. The figure beneath it stood perfectly still, waiting. I brought the truck to a stop, my mind reeling. Take my future memories? What did that even mean? Would I become some empty vessel, experiencing life without any emotional context? The thought was more terrifying than anything I had faced so far. "I won't," I whispered, though I knew my defiance was meaningless. There was nowhere to go but forward, through that archway. "The alternative is permanent stasis," the figure said, its voice echoing strangely, as if multiple people were speaking at once. "You will remain here, in this moment, forever. Your rig will become another monument in the collection." I looked past him through the archway, and for the first time I saw them, thousands of vehicles stretching into the distance, parked in perfect rows under the unnatural darkness. Cars, trucks, RVs, some looked decades old, others brand new, all empty, all preserved in this horrible limbo. "What is this place?" I asked, my voice trembling. "The archive," the figure replied, "where experiences are preserved. Your fear in the basement, your first kiss, your grief, your joy, they are currency here. Valuable commodities in a world that has largely forgotten how to feel deeply." He gestured toward the archway. "Pass through and you may leave. The cost is your emotional future. You will experience events, but they will not touch you. You will witness beauty and tragedy with equal detachment, or remain here with your memories intact, but your existence ended." My mind raced, searching for another option. Then I remembered something. The journal I kept in my glove compartment. For years, I'd written down significant moments, not just the events but my feelings about them. It was a habit my wife had encouraged, a way to preserve memories as I grew older. If this place fed on emotional memories, perhaps I could use the journal as a bargaining chip. "I have something else," I said, my heart pounding. "A record, written memories, dozens of them." The figure tilted its head. "Physical recordings are rare. The emotional resonance diminishes over time, but let me see." I retrieved the journal, my hand shaking as I handed it through the window. The figure took it, gloved fingers carefully turning the pages. For a long moment, there was only silence. "These will suffice," it said finally, "for now. But understand, Samuel Corrigan, you are in our debt. The road always collects what it is owed." The archway's hum intensified, and the figure stepped aside. "You may pass, but know that we will find you again. The debt must be settled in full." I drove through the archway, expecting to emerge back into the normal world. Instead, I found myself on a different highway altogether, one I recognized as Interstate 80 near Winnemucca. The sun was rising. The clock on my dashboard began moving again, and my CB crackled to life with the morning weather report. I was back, but as I reached for my journal to comfort myself, I remembered it was gone, and with it, dozens of precious memories I could now only partially recall. The cost of escape was higher than I'd realized. The first week back was the hardest. I completed my delivery in Salt Lake City, then took a hotel room for 2 days, barely leaving the bed. I felt hollowed out, like a tree that's been struck by lightning, still standing, but dead inside. When I called my wife, Mary, I could hear the concern in her voice. "You sound different, Sam," she said. "Is everything okay?" I tried to explain, to tell her about the toll booths and the archive, but the words wouldn't come. Or rather, they came, but without the emotional weight the story deserved. I described the most terrifying experience of my life in the same flat tone I might use to read a grocery list. Mary grew quiet, then suggested I come home early. The emptiness began to manifest in stranger ways. Food lost its taste. I could identify sweet, salty, sour, but the pleasure was gone. Music became mere noise, patterns of sound without meaning or beauty. Even the rumble of my engine, which had always been a comforting presence, now felt like just vibration. Worse still, I began noticing oddities in the world around me. Sometimes, out corner of my eye, I'd see a flicker of that sickly yellow light. Other times, I'd catch a glimpse of a pale figure in a gray uniform in a crowd, only to have it vanish when I looked directly. The Midnight Tollbooth wasn't done with me. My debt remained outstanding. Then the dream started. Vivid, terrible dreams where I wandered through that archive of vehicles, hearing fragments of other people's memories. A child's laughter, a woman's scream, a man's final prayer. In these dreams, the figure from the archway would approach me, always repeating the same phrase. "The road always collects." I started researching, spending hours in truck stop libraries and online forums, looking for any mention of similar experiences. I found fragments, legends of phantom toll booths, stories of drivers who'd vanished on certain stretches of highway, accounts of people who'd suddenly become different, emotionally flatlined. The pattern emerged, always on lonely roads, always at night, always involving some form of payment beyond money. One evening, at a diner outside Elko, I met an old Navajo trucker named Joe. I hadn't meant to tell my story, but it came spilling out over coffee. To my surprise, he didn't laugh or look at me like I was crazy. "The memory road," he said quietly, his dark eyes serious. "My grandfather spoke of it, a place that feeds on what makes humans human. He said it was born when the first white settlers pushed through these lands, so traumatized by the desert's emptiness that they created a thing that would consume feeling itself. Can it be stopped?" I asked, desperate. Joe shook his head. "You cannot stop hunger, but you can refuse to feed it. The problem is, once it has tasted you, it will never stop trying to feed." He gave me a small turquoise stone. "For protection," he said. "It won't save you, but it might help you see more clearly." That night, back in my rig, I held the stone and tried to remember Mary's face, the sound of her laughter, the way I felt when I held her. The memories were there, but distant, like watching a movie of someone else's life. The stone grew warm in my hand, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a spark of something: love, longing, connection. Then it was gone, and the emptiness rushed back in, colder and deeper than before. 1 month after my encounter, I was hauling a load to Portland when I saw it. The yellow glow in my rear-view mirror. Not ahead of me this time, but behind and gaining fast. Panic seized me, cold and sharp. I pushed the rig harder. but the glow continued to gain, illuminating the interior of my cab with its sickly light. Then my CB crackled to life. "Samuel Corrigan," said a voice I recognized, the figure from the archway. "Your debt is due." I paid with my journal. I shouted into the handset, "A partial payment." The voice replied calmly, "The interest is accrued. Exit at the next ramp." I looked ahead and saw it. An exit I knew shouldn't be there, marked with a sign that read simply, "Settlement." The barrier arm was already down, blocking the main highway. I had no choice but to take the exit. The ramp led to a circular driveway in front of a massive, dark building that looked like a cross between a cathedral and a warehouse. The figure from the archway stood waiting, now visible in the glow of the building's entrance lights. He was tall, gaunt, with features that seemed both ancient and ageless. His eyes were the same depthless pools I'd seen in the toll booth attendants. "Welcome to the repository," he said, gesturing toward the building, "where we preserve what humanity so carelessly discards." "I don't want to go in there," I said, clutching Joe's turquoise stone in my pocket. "Then make another payment," he said. "Bring us someone else. A replacement. Their memories will cancel your debt." The proposition horrified me. I would never do that. "Then come inside," he said, turning toward the massive doors. "Your collection awaits." As he spoke the words, I felt a pull, not physical, but something deeper, as if my very essence were being drawn toward the building. The turquoise stone in my pocket grew hot, almost burning my skin. With tremendous effort, I resisted. "There's another way," I said, the words coming to me as I spoke them. "A trade, not someone else's memories, but something else of value." The figure paused, intrigued. "What could you possibly offer that would equal the emotional resonance we require?" "Stories," I said, the idea forming even as I spoke. "Not memories, but crafted narratives. Fiction, the emotional journeys humans create when they weave tales." The figure was silent for a long moment. An interesting proposition. The manufactured emotional arc of a well-told story does have value, though it is inferior to genuine lived experience. "I'm a trucker," I said. "I've collected stories for 30 years. I can tell you stories that will make you feel things you've never felt." The figure studied me, its head tilted. "Very well. You have one night. The repository opens at midnight. Tell us a story that makes us feel. Truly feel. Succeed and your debt is cleared. Fail." It gestured toward the building. "You become part of our permanent collection." I had until midnight to craft a story powerful enough to satisfy an entity that fed on human emotion. I returned to my rig, the weight of the task crushing me. How could I, stripped of so much of my own emotional capacity, create something that would move a being that had consumed the feelings of thousands? Back in my cab, I stare at the blank page in my notebook, the turquoise stone sitting beside it. The emptiness inside me felt absolute. How could I craft an emotional story when I could barely remember what emotion felt like? The facts of my life experiences were there, but the feelings that gave them meaning were gone, siphoned away by the toll booths. I thought about Joe, the old trucker who'd given me the stone. I thought about his stories, the way he'd woven history and meaning together. Then I remembered something he'd said. The stories that matter aren't about how you felt. They're about how you make others feel. I closed my eyes and reached for the facts, the raw data of my experiences. The time I'd helped a stranded motorist in a blizzard, the birth of my daughter, the moment I'd realized my father was dying. I couldn't feel these events anymore, but I remembered their shapes, their patterns. Like a musician who'd gone deaf but still understood music theory, I began to construct a story not from emotion, but from the architecture of emotion. The story began with a trucker, not me, but a fictional version, driving through the night. I described the loneliness of the road, the comfort of the radio, the connection to other voices in the darkness. I built the character carefully, layer by layer, using everything I remember about being human, even if I could no longer experience it myself. As I wrote, something strange began to happen. The turquoise stone glowed softly and flickers of feeling returned, not my own, but echoes, shadows. It was as if the stone was helping me remember not the emotions themselves, but their templates. I wrote about love, loss, fear, and hope with the precision of a watchmaker, constructing each emotional beat with care. When midnight came, I stepped out of my rig, the completed story in my hand. The repository's door stood open, revealing a vast, dark space within. The figure waited just inside. "Your story," it said, extending a hand. I didn't hand it the paper. Stories are meant to be told, not read. I said, "You wanted to feel? Then listen." And I began to speak. I told the story of a man losing everything only to find something more precious. Not a thing, but connection to others who had also lost. I spoke of the Midnight Tollbooth itself, but as a character, a hungry thing that could be satisfied not by consumption, but by creation. As I spoke, I saw something remarkable. The figure began to change. Its rigid posture softened. Its depthless eyes seemed to shimmer with something like feeling. When I finished, there was a long silence. The figure stood perfectly still, then slowly raised a hand to its face, touching its own cheek as if surprised to find moisture there. "You have given us something new," it said, its voice no longer flat, but filled with wonder. Not memory, but possibility. The possibility of feeling without taking. It gestured, and the massive doors began to close. "Your debt is cleared, Samuel Corrigan. The road will not claim you. But know this, what you have given us tonight has changed the balance. The hunger remains, but now we have a new taste for stories given freely, not memories taken." The repository faded from view, and I found myself standing beside my rig on a normal stretch of highway, the dawn just breaking over the mountains. I was free, but as I climbed back into my cab, I realized something had changed in me too. The emptiness was still there, but it was no longer a void. It was a space waiting to be filled, not with stolen memories, but with new experiences, new stories. That was 6 months ago. I still drive the same routes, but I never see the yellow glow anymore. The debt is paid. The emptiness inside me remains, but I've learned to work around it. I collect stories now, not just for myself, but for the repository, once a month. I stop a particular rest area that doesn't appear on any map, and I tell a story to a figure waiting in the shadows. It's a different kind of toll, but one I pay willingly. If you're driving late at night and you see a glow where none should be, remember my story. Remember that some roads demand more than money, and some debts can never truly be repaid, only transformed. Keep your stories close, but be willing to share them. You never know when a well-told tale might be the price of your freedom. Subscribe for more warnings from the night road. Drive safe. And remember, the best protection against what lurks in the darkness is a good story.
Did you enjoy today's stories? Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. If you've made it this far, leave horripilent in the comments so I know you watched the video all the way through. See you in the next video.